Okay, so here we have our page where we have created the input field, right? Now the problem with this input field is that it shows you at the display itself, it shows it as an input field, right? Sometimes you might not want this thing to happen. Sometimes you might want the data to be displayed normally. When the user wants, he should come and double click on a particular record and should be able to edit that, right? The entire objective for creating this was so that the data is editable, right? But the view, if you look into this does not look very good, because it appears as an input field. You would rather prefer the data to look like this and allow the end users to edit by clicking or double clicking on the data. Can you see it here? On this page, it appears as an input field, and in this column, and this is how it appears in the normal field, right? Sometimes you might not want the data to appear like this. You would rather want the data to come, to show up like this. Got that thing? So this is what we have to now understand. How do we design that kind of a scenario where the data appears like a read-only data, but while we double click, it becomes editable, right? So for that, what we're gonna do, we will simply go and include inline edit on this. We'll put inline edit on this. What is this thing called? Form or this table. Fine, not on the form, complete form, on the table. So inline edit is a feature where it allows you to double click on a record and edit it. Okay. To include the inline edit, you just have to go, and before the close of the table, you just have to put a component here which is called Apex Inline Edit Support. That's it. So if you put this component, I told you we will put it in the page block table. So if you put it at a page block table level, inline edit support will be enabled. What does that inline edit support means? You can double click on any record to edit it. Right. So this is what your inline edit support does. Right. So in case you do not want to create an input field, the alternative is this. Allow the inline edit support on your table. Right. So this is one thing that you can do. Okay. Now let's learn about the actions on the Visualforce page. Okay, now I'll create a very simple page using a standard controller only. Can you tell me what is the error?
Type is something you wrote wrong.
Okay, what is the error, Anuj?
Oh, never mind.
There is an N missing here. If you read it here.
In hurry, I actually went to line 4, then I figured it is page 4, not line 4.
It's page 4, it's not line 4.
Yeah, so I thought type was...
No, it was page 4, not line 4. Okay. For editing data, let's say I have here input fields. Value. Yesterday I showed you how to use input fields, right? So same thing we are using here. All right. So this is what we have here. I've created two sections. One is for displaying the data, the first page block. Second is for editing the data, the second one. All right. Okay, so this is what we have, right? Now if I kind of first of all, let me bring a record ID here. Okay, got the record ID here. Now if I change the data here, let's say Burlington Textile Corp, I just make it Burlington Textiles, right? So whatever changes you are making, you need some button or some action to happen to save it, right? Making the change will not update the database at the back end. It's just the user interface. Now whatever you are changing here, this is only getting updated in the front end UI. I need to make these changes in the back end. I have to have some action button here. Some sort of action needs to be done, right? So for that you have two options. You can put a command button or a command link. Both of them are same thing. The only difference is button will look like a button and the link will look like a link. Okay, and we will perform some action on that. We will perform some command on that. Now for your standard controller, there are limited actions. So you do not have, you cannot do anything you want with the standard controller. So for standard controller, there are a few limited actions that can be performed. So save is one of them. So save is an option. So what I'll do, I'll create a button and do a save. So for creating a button, there is this component called Apex command button. So both these components are there, command button, command link, whichever you feel is required. So link will look like a link and the button will look like a button. That's it. No other difference. So for a command button, there are two mandatory attributes. One is value. Value is what text you want to display on the button, which can be save now. Action will be now whatever changes I have made, if I click on the save button, this will go and make the changes in the backend. So save action by default defined action on our for our standard controllers is a default action and you can just use it. This will save the data on the page back to your database. Okay, so just click on save now. See, the record got saved and it got updated as well. Had a big name, now it got updated to a smaller name. Fine. So the save action helps us do that. Did you notice one thing, that I performed the save action on the Visualforce page? It saved the record and took me to the detail page of the record. It has, that is the thing. So it navigates from the Visualforce page to the detail page. In case you don't want to navigate, move away from the Visualforce, on the save button, you just want to save the record, and if you want to stay on the same page, the same Visualforce page, then you should basically do this. So in value you can put whatever text you want. And for action you will put quick save. So there is another action which is called quick save. So quick save basically saves or performs the save operation and stays on the same page. It does not navigate away from the page. So that is a good thing about quick save. So I have put quick save on this link and save on this button. Okay. Now let me get the record ID. Now if I want to change it to the earlier stage, okay, so if I click on save, what will happen? Again it will save the record, take me to the detail page of the record, which I do not want. I just want to stay on the same page. So just click on this link, quick save. Save the record, brings you back on the same page, on the Visualforce page, right? So you have to see what is your requirement. On the save, do you want to move to the detail page or you want to stay on the same page? If you want to stay on the same page, use quick save, otherwise use the normal save. Fine, so these are the standard actions, standard controller actions. So here is the list of actions that we have for standard controller. Save, quick save, edit, delete, cancel, list. So these are the actions which are available, default actions. As I told you earlier, for standard controller you cannot define your own actions. You just have to work with a standard set of actions that Salesforce has defined for you. So these are the only actions. Save and quick save we have seen. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more actions are here which can be put on standard controller, right? So actions will be put on the command button or on the command link, right? So there is an action called edit. So you can use it. This navigates the user to the edit page for the record that is currently in context. So a record which is in context, it will take you to the edit page of that record. Delete will take you to the will delete the record that is in context. So if you put a delete action, the record which is in context, the one for which you have supplied the ID, will be deleted. Cancel will abort an edit operation. So if you are doing an edit operation, cancel will cancel that edit operation. List returns a page reference object to the standard list page. The standard list page, you remember, the view page, the list and all. When you click on the tab, so it will take you to the most recently viewed list. So when you click on the account tab or any tab, you get to see those views, right? List views. So it will take you to the recently viewed list. So that is the thing. So these are the actions there. Now that part is done. In addition to these actions, standard list controller. So this is a standard controller, right? Standard list controller has a few more actions. These actions are there for standard list controller as well, but there are a few additional actions that a standard list controller has. Before I talk about that, let me go to a standard list controller. So let's create a small standard list controller page. Let me create it for opportunity. All right. So here we have the list of opportunities. Now we will create a table here. The way we created a table for accounts, we are creating a table for opportunities. Name, amount, page name, expected revenue, account dot name. Okay. Because account is a relationship field on this, then what you can do is through account you can go into the account record and fetch the details of the account also. So opportunity has a parent account, right? If you want to fetch the field from the parent record, that can be done. So you just have to do this o.account.industry, right? So it will bring you the industry of the account. Which account? The parent account of this, right? So this thing can be done. So this is the table that I have. Fine. Now standard list controller can display only 20 records on a page. If you count this, these are 20. Fine. Standard list controller shows only 20 records on a page. Now when it shows 20 records on a page, what happens to the other records? How do I see the other records? There must be more records here, right? How do I see those? To see those records, you have to do the pagination. So for that, there are a few additional actions which are there for standard controller, as I told you. We have an action called next, one is called previous, one is called first, the one is called last. So how do we define these actions? just let's create a button here. Command button and with an action next. So this will take you to the next page. Value can be next page, whatever you want, that can be the value. Because you're using a command button, you also have to use a form component, right? So put effects form. Right. So now we have created a button, next page. Okay, this will take you to the next set of records. So the 20 records you get to see, this is the next set of records. See, next page, the next action took me here. Now how do I go back? So I should have another button here which can help me go back. I'll create it at the top. You don't have to create it, here. You can create it wherever you want, but I'm just giving an example. Alright, so here it is. Now you have a previous button and a next button. So next page will take you to the next page, and previous will take you to the previous page. So 20 records are displayed at one time for a standard list controller. For anything where you have more than 20 records, you always have to use pagination. Alright, clear on that? Please let me know if you have any questions. So that is how your standard controller actions and standard list controller actions work. So other actions are pretty same, but this next and previous actions are additional in your standard list controller. Next, previous, there are 4, right? First, last. So if you have multiple pages, now in this case we just have 2 pages. So next and previous is working. If you have multiple pages and you want to go into the last page, that last action will take you there. Not that thing. So there are 2 more actions, first and last. So for defining them, you just have to write first or last here. So this action will take you to the first page, this action will take you to the last page. Okay. So now we understand the standard and standardless controller, the actions, we know how to create tables, we know how to create forms, input data, save the data, right? So almost everything we understand on our, as far our standard controllers are concerned. There's one thing that we will need to do now. How do we use these Visualforce pages? Now this is very important. How to use the Visualforce pages? You have created the Visualforce page, absolutely fine. That is okay. Now where do you use it? How do you call it? How will the user get to see? So far we have been using it as a developer. Every time we are supplying the ID at the URL, right? Practically, do you think the user will supply the ID of the record and use? No, right? So there has to be a way of using the Visualforce pages. How will the end user access your Visualforce page? Right? So now we will learn how do we enable the Visualforce pages for the end users. What are the different ways of doing that? And this is kind of very important thing. So here we are going to talk about overriding and pointing to Visualforce pages, right? So how does the end user get to these Visualforce pages, whatever pages we have created, right? So there are a few ways of doing that. We'll talk about all of them. First way of using a Visualforce page is overriding standard page. Okay. So first way of bringing a Visualforce page in use is override the standard page using the Visualforce page. So whenever a user goes and clicks on the record, he will straight away get to see that record in the Visualforce page and not on the standard page. Fine. So let's take an example of this. Now this is how your standard account record opens, right? This is the standard page. If I go to accounts tab and then I click on any record, it opens in the standard page format, the page layout which has been defined and all, right? This is how it opens. Now if I want a Visualforce page to open instead of this, when I click on the record, I want the record automatically to open in a Visualforce page format, then what I have to do, I have to override the standard page using some Visualforce page. So we will take a Visualforce page from here. I think we created one yesterday. We'll take something from there. This one, let's take this one. Yeah, this is the page that we created, right? Page 2. So let's see how this page 2 opens. How does page 2 look? Okay. So this is how my Visualforce page looks, right? So for a given account, let's say United Oil and Gas, this is how the Visualforce page looks and this is how your standard page looks. Alright. If you want to want the users to see the record in this format, in this Visualforce page format, what you have to do, you just have to go and override the standard page with this page 2. Using page 2, you just need to override the standard page. That's it, nothing else. So simple thing, go to this, for overriding you just need to go to setup, then you will go to customize accounts, since we are gonna override the account standard page. When you go to accounts, you will have this option of buttons, links and actions. Okay, this is an option which is available with all the objects, all standard, all custom object. So whichever object you want to override the page for, just go and click on buttons, links and actions, and in that you have to edit the view page. This is the view page of the record, right? The detailed view page of the record. So you just have to go on view and click on edit. So as of now, this view page uses a standard salesforce.com page. What is the source? The source is standard salesforce.com page. I just have to go and change this to my page 2, the Visualforce page that I'm using. That's it. Click on edit and change the source. So make it a Visualforce page and select which Visualforce page are you talking about, page 2. Done. That's it. So initially it was no override, default standard page. Now you have used the Visualforce page, page 2 for this. Click on save. Done. Now whenever an end user comes to the accounts, clicks on any of the account record, that will open in the Visualforce page format and not in the standard format. See? So now you don't have to go and supply the record ID and all that stuff, because it will automatically take the record ID. Clear? So this is one thing. This is one way of using Visualforce page. Once you have designed a Visualforce page, you can override the standard page. Visualforce page can function as a replacement to the standard detail page for an account or any object. You can modify the standard user interface generated by platform to ensure that your page gets shown instead of the standard page. So instead of your standard page, your page will get shown. Okay. So this is the navigation, that's fine, we have understood. So button, links and actions is available under all objects. Whichever object you want to override the standard page, just go to that particular object and click on button, links and actions. Alright. Now the next thing is embed a page on a standard layout. Another way to get your page displayed is to embed it within a standard layout. So overriding the complete page is an option. Other option is you could have embedded the Visualforce page in the standard layout itself. So then it would get inserted into that page as a small section, right? Instead of overriding an entire page, the other option you had is to embed it. So let me go back and make it the normal standard page. So again, I'll need to go to setup for doing that. So it's accounts, right? So go back and set it back to no override, so it becomes the standard page. Now how do I embed a Visualforce page inside a normal or standard page? Embedding the page is very simple. You just have to go to the page layouts. So page layout we have learned earlier, right? In page layout there is an option of including a Visualforce page inside the actual standard page. So if you come to the page layout, you will see in the left hand side you have this Visualforce pages option, and you can drag and bring any page into the page layout. So let's say you want to bring in a section here, a one column section, and then bring page 1 here. Okay. So this is the page that you have designed. This got entered here. Along with your standard page, this gets included as a section. Height you can control, it's 200 pixels. If you want, you can make it a smaller size thing also. Make it 140 pixels. Okay. Then you just save the page layout. So this is the second way of using the Visualforce page. So the users, when they open the standard page layout, they will get to see the Visualforce page, small section of it. Right. So this is one thing you can embed a Visualforce page into a standard page. See, this is your Visualforce page. Clear? So that's the second way of using a Visualforce page. Let's look into what is the third way. Third way is create a button that links to a Visualforce page. So other way of using Visualforce will be, you can create a button that can take you to the Visualforce page. Okay, so you can create a custom button that can take you to the Visualforce page. So how do you create this button? Before that, let me just go to the setup. Leave the setup part. Let's create the button. Okay. So for creating button, let's say we have setup, create customize accounts. You can go and click and create a new button. Okay, create a new button which will take you to the Visualforce page. Okay, so put a label and a name for this and say content source is a Visualforce page, right? When you create a new button, and select the Visualforce page that you want to open from that button. Page 2 is what I want to open, that's it. Simple. Just give a name. Just give it a label and a name, make it a detail page button. Content source will be Visualforce page. So clicking on this button, it will open up the Visualforce page for that record. Okay. Click on save. So button has been created. Now I have to include the button into the page layout. For that, I will just go to the page layouts. Then click on the edit page layout. And from there, I'm removing the section that we included earlier, and we will include the button here, Visualforce page button. Just drag and put it here. Okay. Now this button can take you to the Visualforce page. So save it. Now if you go to a record, open the record, you will get to see the that button here, Visualforce page button here. So here the record is being displayed on the standard layout. However, if you click on this button, this will take you to the Visualforce page. So click on this, opens a new window for the Visualforce page, the details of the record. This is one more option. In case you have created a Visualforce page and you want the users to see the standard page, and you also want them to have an option to see the data in the Visualforce page format, you can do this. Okay, so this way the end user will have both the options. They can see the Visualforce page as well as the normal page, right? So this is the third option of using the Visualforce page. Create a button and allow the page through the button. And the fourth way of doing that is the simpler one, where you can simply type in the address of the page on the link. Okay, on the link as in where you can simply type in the address of the page on the command link or a command button. So from one page you can navigate to the other Visualforce page, which is something like this. Let's say I am on page 1. Okay. So on this page 1, you can create a command button. We have seen how to create a command button in Visualforce, right? So here I can create a command button which can take me to the page 2 or page 3. So that thing can be done. Form component, we have got it here. So in action, what you can write is this: apex /page 2. So this will take you there to the page 2. /epic/page name, if you write, this button can also take you to the page 2. For this, so this kind of things can also be done. So that is another option of doing the same thing. So these are the 4 different ways of doing the same thing. I mean, using the Visualforce page in different ways, getting or pointing towards a Visualforce page from different ways. Depends on you, how what kind of a requirement you have, how your users will come to that Visualforce page. So depending on that, you will just decide which is the right thing for you. Do you just want to go ahead and override the standard page? Do you want to create a button on the standard page which will redirect to this Visualforce page? Do you want to have a link in one of the Visualforce page which takes you to the other Visualforce page, or you simply want to embed a small, embed a Visualforce page as a small section on the actual page? So the choice you have to make based on the requirement that you have. Right? Clear on this? Please let me know if you have any questions here. Simple? Alright. So we have understood this. We will do one more example where we will talk about passing the parameters in the Visualforce page. Passing of parameters means taking one parameter and passing it to the other section within the Visualforce page. Okay. So let's do that. So I'll start with a standard list controller, and I call this as the same table that we created yesterday. I don't want to see the sidebar, so I'll remove the sidebar. So done. This is my list of accounts here. Okay, I want to have one more section here, but here I want to display the account details. Okay, so I have two sections here. One is on the left hand side, the list of all the accounts, and in the right hand side I want to display the details of one single record. Now my point is that I just want to go and click on any of these records and I want to see the details of that record in this section. If I click on Burlington Textile, details of that should be displayed. If I click on Express Logistics, details of that should be displayed. So in this case, what we have to do? We have to pass a parameter on click on a record. A parameter should be passed from this record to this side of the page, right? So from this table to this section, a parameter needs to be passed. Then only the record will get updated, right? That is what we want to do. So let's go ahead and do that. So first thing, to do that, what we have to do? We have to convert this into link. This thing needs to be converted into link. This account name, because if it's a link, then only I can click on this, right? So we will go to that account name column. Inside the column, you will just need to create the link. FX form component is required. Okay. So I have converted these things into links. Okay. Now what I want to do, on click of the link, I want to pass on some parameter. So I have to define some parameter as well. So there is a component in Visualforce which is called param. So what I'm going to do, I am going to close this command link also. Inside this link I will define another component called param. This is just for defining a parameter. Okay. So on click of the link, define a parameter. That's it. That is what this param will do, param component. So you will have to give a name of the component, name of the parameter, and you will have to give a value for the parameter. Name for the parameter you can give anything. I can call it account ID. So what value should this parameter pick? It should pick the ID from the record. And name will be account ID. So name you could have given anything, but what value you want to pass into the parameter? ID of the record. Okay. This is the ID which I am going to call here in my detail page. Alright. So that is what we are going to do. So on the click of this link, I have passed a parameter called account ID. Value of the parameter is ID of the current record. And this ID is something which needs to be passed here. Okay, how would you pass this ID? In the detail component, there is an attribute called subject. Okay, so in that subject only, right? 1 second. Yes. So the subject can be a ID. In the subject you can define an ID. If you display an ID on the subject, or if you put an ID in that subject, what will happen? This detail component will show the detail of that record. For example, if I take an ID from any of the existing records. Now if I put this ID in the subject, you'll see what happens. Alright, we'll not pass the ID directly, but the point is that if you pass on an ID to this, it can show you the details of that particular record, right? So that is what a detail component does. Either it will display the details of the record which is in context, for which you have put the record ID in the URL, or you supply the ID here in the subject. Okay. So where is my ID stored? My ID is stored in this parameter. The record which I am clicking, that record's ID is stored in this parameter. So what do we need to do? We just need to go and call that parameter here in the subject. Call it like this and put it okay. So instead of passing on an ID, what I have done, I have just said that ID will be equals to the account ID. So this is the syntax, current page dot parameters dot this. So this gets into the set of all the parameters and this specifically goes into account ID. So now on click of this link, value of this get updated, will be updated. Account ID value will get updated every time I click on this link, and as a result this will also get updated. Let's see how it works. See this? Click on Express Logistics. Click on any record, that record's details will open in the right hand side. Is that okay? Simple. Now there is only a small thing. If you have understood this passing of parameter thing, so on click of this link, every time this thing is getting updated, the value here, and as a result the value here also gets changed and this section also gets updated. So that is what is happening here, right? Now if you have any questions here, please tell me. It's very simple code. It's clear, right? Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, while I click on any of the link, what is happening? This entire page gets refreshed. If you notice this, when I click on this, the complete page gets reloaded, right? Which that is the reason why it takes a bit of time for me to update or refresh this data, because the entire page is getting reloaded, right? Click on this, the full page gets reloaded. Now for that, what you have to do, you just have to go and make a small change so that on click of the link, instead of entire page, only this section gets refreshed. Because this is the section which I want to refresh. This section is static. It should not be refreshed or reloaded. If the entire page gets reloaded, then what will happen? It will take a little longer. The performance of the page would go down, right? So instead, we would just update this section. So that is very simple. For that, you have to do one small thing. For this page block, I just want to update this, refresh this page block on link click, right? So I will go and define an ID for this page block. Give it any name. Okay. And on the command link, go and say re-render that. So now this command link will not re-render the entire page. By default it renders the entire page. Now it will just re-render this section. That's it. So every time you click on the link, instead of the entire page, only this will be re-rendered. That's it. Done. So now if you click on any of the record, you'll see the complete page is not getting reloaded. Now it's faster. Right? So performance wise, your page is better now. You're not moving out of the page, or you are not reloading the entire page. You just click on this and only this part is being updated. Clear on this? Please tell me if you have any questions, doubts here. Are we all fine so far?
Yes, Jake.
All right.